Imagine for a moment that your body is not just flesh and bone, but a living temple, an organism endowed with ancient wisdom, a force that whispers in silence and yet we rarely listen to. Now ask yourself, what if the key to healing your wounds, both physical and emotional, was not outside in external medicines but inside yourself? Pain, although we perceive it as a relentless enemy, is actually a messenger. It speaks to us, indicates the place where we have lost balance and shows us that we have forgotten an essential truth. We are more powerful than we dare to believe. Self-healing is not a miracle reserved for a few enlightened ones, but a faculty inscribed in every cell, a legacy engraved in our biological and spiritual memory. Since ancient times, the wise from different traditions have affirmed that the body is capable of regenerating itself, that the mind possesses the ability to direct that internal force, and that the spirit acts as a bridge to release that healing energy. Modern medicine calls it the placebo effect, but in the ancient mystery schools it was known as the secret flame of life. On this journey that we will begin together, we will explore how that force awakens in moments of adversity, when pain seems insurmountable, and yet something inside us pushes us to get up again and again. We will see that self-healing is not only about the flesh repairing itself or energy balancing, but about the ability to reconnect with the deepest part of our being, where true power resides. This video will be a revealing journey. We will discover the philosophical and spiritual roots of self-healing present in ancient cultures that already understood this mystery. We will delve into the internal mechanisms that make it possible for a wound to close, for a heart to be relieved, for a soul to regain its strength after suffering. And most importantly, we will learn to awaken that capacity within ourselves, to transform pain into a teacher and imbalance into an opportunity to be reborn. Today I invite you to listen not only with your mind, but with your soul, because what we are going to explore is not a simple concept. It is a truth that can change the way you relate to your body, your emotions, and life itself. Get ready, because what you will discover is not a secret foreign to you, but a power that has always been waiting within you. The idea that the human being possesses within itself the capacity to heal is not a modern discovery, but an echo that resonates from the most ancient civilizations. Where today we see temples in ruins and forgotten codices, there still beats a knowledge that reminds us that the body, mind, and spirit are three intertwined threads of the same fabric: life. In ancient Egypt, the priests of Sekhmet, the lioness goddess of healing power, affirmed that all illness was an energetic disharmony before being a physical ailment. They understood that words and symbols had the power to open paths of healing. They treated not only the body but also the emotions and the spirit, knowing that a wound in any of those planes would end up being reflected in the others. In the Hindu tradition, the Vedas speak of prana, the vital energy that flows through the invisible channels of the body, and how through breathing, meditation, and mantras, it is possible to restore lost harmony. According to these teachings, illness is nothing more than a blockage of the vital flow, and healing is allowing that current to circulate again, like the river that breaks a dam and resumes its natural course. The Greeks, with Hippocrates as a central figure, also recognized this principle. The so-called father of medicine spoke of the vis medicatrix naturae, the healing force of nature that resides within every living being. For Hippocrates, the physician did not cure, he simply accompanied, facilitated, and awakened that latent energy in the patient. Yes, true medicine was the art of reminding the body of its capacity for regeneration. In the Andes, the shamans held that pain is a spirit that comes to teach us, and that by honoring it in sacred rituals, the internal power to heal is unlocked. For them, the human body was a microcosm of the universe, and every wound reflected a misalignment in the relationship with the earth, the sky, and the ancestors. The fascinating thing is that all these traditions, separated by thousands of kilometers and eras, agreed on an essential truth. Healing does not come from outside. It is activated from within. The external, be it a medicinal plant, a ritual, or advice, is only a trigger, a spark that reminds the inner flame to awaken. Today, in a society that has almost completely delegated health to external forces, these ancient visions invite us to look inward again. They remind us that every human being is a sanctuary where dwells the energy that can transform illness into health, pain into teaching, and fragility into strength. Self-healing, then, is not a myth nor a spiritual utopia. It is a universal principle that our ancestors venerated and applied, and that patiently waits for us, in this age of noise and distraction, to awaken it again. Imagine for a moment that your body is a living cathedral, a temple built with millions of bricks of light, each one a cell that beats and breathes. Now in that temple, there is not a single guardian, but a silent army that watches over your well-being day and night, your immune system, your subconscious mind, your vital energy. Self-healing begins in that invisible sanctuary where the three planes of being converge: physical, mental, and spiritual. Pain, illness, and suffering are not enemies in themselves, they are messages. Like a severe teacher who knocks on the door until you decide to open it, pain points to an internal disharmony, a cry from the body asking for attention. But here is the secret that few people dare to recognize. You are not a passive spectator of your health. You are the alchemist who can transmute poison into medicine. On the physical plane, every cell holds a memory of repair. When you cut yourself, you don't need to beg the wound to heal. The body knows. It activates its secret codes of regeneration, and little by little the tissue rejoins. That same principle is present in every organ, in every system. What we call healing is nothing more than the reminder of an internal program that has been perfecting itself over millions of years of evolution. But the body does not act alone. The mind is the architect that can reinforce or weaken those processes. Think about how your organism reacts when you are afraid. Your breathing accelerates, your muscles tense, your heart beats forcefully. Now, if the mind can generate disorder with just a thought of anguish, can it not also generate order and balance? The answer is a resounding yes. Modern science has demonstrated what ancient traditions already knew. Thoughts and emotions directly affect biology. Meditating, visualizing, or even affirming conviction are acts that instruct the body on how to respond. On the energetic and spiritual plane, self-healing takes on an even deeper nuance. Here it is not only about restoring physical functions, but about releasing the blockages that prevent vital energy from circulating. Every unresolved resentment, every repressed emotion, every fear buried in the shadow acts as a wall that interrupts that flow. And when energy stagnates, the body becomes the canvas where that imbalance is projected. The true art of self-healing begins when we recognize that healing is not only about fixing what is damaged, but about restoring harmony between body, mind, and spirit. It is like tuning a musical instrument. You can have the strings intact, but if they are not tensioned just right, the melody will be dissonant. Likewise, even if there is no visible illness, if the spirit is exhausted or the mind is dominated by dark thoughts, the body will end up reflecting that chaos. Therefore, the sages of antiquity invited us to see ourselves as alchemists of our own being. They reminded us that within each person there is a spring of energy capable of transforming pain into learning, the wound into a sacred scar, and fragility into strength. Self-healing is not an extraordinary miracle. It is the purest expression of what it means to be alive. In this first part, we have unveiled the fundamental principle. There is no real separation between the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. Healing is not an external act, but a return to internal balance, an intimate dialogue with our sacred temple. And it is in that return where we discover that illness, instead of being a punishment, is a teacher that guides us back to ourselves. To speak of self-healing without nuances would be like describing the sea without waves. The inner force that transforms pain does not unfold in a straight line. It is a spiral where advances and setbacks, clarity and shadow, mastery and surrender coexist. And it is there, in that creative tension, where healing becomes true. The first paradox: healing requires power and surrender at the same time. Power to choose new narratives, new habits, new ways of inhabiting the body. Surrender to let go of obsessive control and allow the intelligence of the organism to do its work. When we impose rigid deadlines, the body defends itself. When we accompany with presence, the body cooperates. It is like cultivating a garden. You can plow, water, protect, but you cannot pull the stem to make it grow faster. Second paradox: the mind that sickens can also heal. The same mechanism that amplifies pain, anticipation, fear, the what if, can become medicine if we learn to direct it. Some call this placebo and nocebo, two faces of the same mirror. The mind does not imagine outside the body, it imagines inside. Therefore, visualizing with cold detail is not enough. The image must be preceded by regulated emotion and followed by coherent action. Visualizing rest requires sleeping better. Invoking calm requires breathing differently. Affirming "I love myself" asks for concrete gestures of self-care. Third paradox, the shadow heals as much as the light. Many seek to heal by avoiding pain, denying it, covering it up with positivism. But what is denied governs from below. Mature self-healing includes descending, naming the fear, feeling the rage, crying the uncried tears, not to stay there, but to release the knot that obstructs the vital flow. The emotion that is traversed becomes available energy. The repressed emotion becomes a symptom. Fourth nuance, the body speaks in the language of symbols. A stiff neck may be a head that does not want to turn, an oppressed chest, a love that is not allowed, a stomach at war, an indigestible life. It is not about blaming the patient with simplistic readings, but about opening fine questions. What part of me refuses to be flexible? What truth am I still pushing down? The symptom becomes a teacher when we stop fighting it and begin to listen to it. Fifth key, time is part of the treatment. The biological rhythm does not respond to the ego's impatience. A deep scar asks for complete seasons, winter to retract, spring to sprout, summer to strengthen, autumn to integrate. Those who judge themselves for not healing quickly add a layer of pain to the pain. Patience is not passivity. It is a loving discipline sustained over time. Sixth, uncomfortable truth. Not everything self-heals in solitude. Self-healing is not narcissistic self-sufficiency. The tribe regulates. The presence of others co-regulates. Sometimes healing includes asking for help. A therapist, a doctor, a spiritual guide, a friend who holds you. The shared field is medicine. Denying it out of pride is closing a door that life offers you. Seventh nuance, the body needs proofs, not just promises. You can decree well-being, but your physiology will ask for repeated evidence. Breaths that lower cortisol, movements that lubricate joints, foods that reduce inflammation, boundaries that protect energy, rest that repairs. Every micro-action is an "I believe you" that the mind whispers to the body, and the body responds by reorganizing its symphony. Eighth and final paradox, purpose heals where painkillers cannot reach. Pain without meaning paralyzes. Pain with meaning guides. When you find a what for, to serve, to create, to love better, to leave a legacy, the nervous system allocates resources that were previously hijacked by the threat. Purpose does not eliminate pain, it redeems it. Imagine now your process as a forge. The fire is the pain, yes, but the hammer is your will, and the anvil is your discipline. Blow by blow, heat after heat, the metal becomes a useful form. Healing does not return you to what you were before, it turns you into something more whole, more true. You do not go back to who you were, you become who you are. In summary, mature self-healing integrates light and shadow, action and rest, solitude and tribe, the science of habit and the mystique of meaning. It does not compete with external medicine, it empowers it from within. And above all, remember that the goal is not to never feel again, but to feel with wisdom, to respond with art, and to live with a dignity that pain can no longer snatch away. If pain is the language of the body, and illness a symbol that seeks to be heard, then entire life can become a field of practices that awaken the self-healing force that dwells in you. It is not about magic formulas, but about ancient and modern keys that, united, allow you to reconnect with your natural capacity to transform yourself from within. The first key is to listen with humility. Listen to the body as one listens to a wise elder, without interrupting, without denying, without immediately seeking a shortcut. Headache, fatigue, stiffness, apathy. Each of these messages is a bell resonating from the depths of your inner temple. Instead of combating them with hostility, approach them with the question, What truth is it trying to show me? Listening is the first act of love. The second key is to breathe with awareness. Breathing is the forgotten bridge between the visible and the invisible. When you breathe shallowly, your body is left half full, your energy stagnates, your mind runs without direction. When you breathe deeply and slowly, the nervous system calms down and the cells receive the order to repair themselves. 10 minutes a day of conscious breathing is not a luxury, it is a return to the origin. The third key, movement as medicine. The body was not created for eternal stillness nor for constant tension, but for rhythm. To walk, stretch, dance, practice yoga, or simply move the joints with gratitude. Every conscious gesture mobilizes dormant memories and helps release accumulated emotions. Movement not only keeps bones and muscles active, it also unblocks the spiritual energy that sometimes gets trapped in the tissues. The fourth key is to nourish the energy and not just the stomach. Eating is not only a biological act, it is a sacred pact with life. Living foods, fruits, seeds, vegetables, pure water, carry with them a vibration of light. When you choose what enters your body, you also decide the quality of the energy with which you will heal. Eating consciously without hurry with gratitude is another form of silent medicine. The fifth key, to rest without guilt. In a society that glorifies productivity, resting seems like a betrayal. But rest is not inactivity, it is the alchemy, where the body repairs itself and the mind processes what has been lived. Sleeping well, disconnecting from screens, surrendering to silence. These are keys that allow self-healing to unfold its most invisible work. The sixth key, purpose and gratitude. Pain without meaning crushes. Pain with purpose transforms. Ask yourself every day, what am I going through this for? Perhaps to learn to take better care of yourself, perhaps to let go of old burdens, perhaps to grow in empathy towards others. Accompany this reflection with a simple exercise. Give thanks for 3 things every night. Gratitude and purpose together ignite the most powerful inner force. Finally, the 7th key. Surround yourself with energy that elevates. People, readings, music, environments, everything that surrounds you either nourishes or drains. Choose consciously. You cannot always change the circumstances, but you can decide which spaces and companions strengthen your vibration. Self-healing is also cultivated in the tribe, in the mirrors that remind us of who we are. These keys are not linear steps nor rigid recipes, they are compasses. Every human being will find their own way to apply them, their own rhythm. The essential thing is to understand that your capacity to heal is not asleep. It is awake, waiting for you to decide to trust in it, like a seed that already carries within it the form of the tree it will become. Self-healing is not an external miracle that comes from outside, but an internal awakening that reveals itself when we stop fighting against ourselves and begin to listen to ourselves with respect. Throughout this journey, we have understood that the body is much more than a biological machine. It is a vibrant temple, a silent oracle that holds the memory of our experiences, emotions, and learnings. Every pain, every illness, every wound is not an enemy to be destroyed, but a teacher that comes to teach us. When we learn to see illness as a symbol and not as a punishment, fear loses power over us. We realize that we hold in our hands a sacred tool, the capacity to transmute suffering into consciousness, imbalance into strength, fragility into wisdom. This path is not linear nor immediate. It requires patience, discipline, and above all, trust. Trust that our body knows more than we think. Trust that life has a deeper order that sometimes escapes us. Trust that the energy that created us also inhabits us and can guide us towards harmony. Imagine your being as a river. When you repress your emotions, the water stagnates and turbulences appear. When you deny your needs, the channel diverts and loses strength. But when you flow with what you are without fear, the river recovers its purity and its direction. Such is self-healing, an act of allowing, of flowing, of trusting in the current of life. Pain, although difficult to accept, can become the fire that awakens your internal alchemy. Many beings discovered their purpose in the midst of illness, Others learned to love in the midst of suffering, and not a few found their greatest strength when they thought all was lost. Because in the end, healing does not always mean making the symptoms disappear, but learning to live more fully, with more consciousness and with more love towards ourselves and others. Today, more than ever, we need to remember that the power of self-healing does not belong to a few chosen ones, nor does it require complicated formulas. It is in all of us, beating, waiting. Every deep breath, every gesture of gratitude, every thought of trust opens the door for that force to unfold. Therefore, my final invitation is simple, but powerful. Stop looking outside for what has always been inside. The wisest physician dwells within you. The strongest healer beats in your heart. Every time you choose to listen to yourself, to love yourself, to take care of yourself, you are remembering an ancient secret, that you are the creator of your health, your energy, and your destiny. Close your eyes for a moment and repeat silently. Within me there is an infinite force that guides me, protects me, and restores me. I trust in it. I surrender to it. I am one with it. That affirmation, made with conviction, is more powerful than any fleeting remedy, because in the end, self-healing is not an act of magic, but of consciousness. And consciousness, when ignited, illumines the path towards freedom.